Hello and welcome to Digital Woodcarver. My name is Signage, and tonight we're going to together we're going to look at design concepts. And bear with me a second while I fix my camera. I just made some adjustments to it. There we go. I was looking a little hollow. Um, we are going to be basically building a sign, a design, using some elements and basically a concept. So in this scenario, we've got a customer that is looking for a sign for outside of their building or front of the road or whatever the case may be, and their company is Silver Oak. It could be Silver Oak Preserve, Silver Oak Wildlife Preservation. It could be Silver Oak Resort, whatever the case may be. Silver Oaks, and the customer really doesn't know what he or she wants. They know they would like to have possibly an oak tree, some oak leaves, acorns, whatever that scenario or concept may be. And so we're going to take some different elements and we're going to do our best to lay out a nice design just based off the feedback we got from the customer. Okay, so that's kind of the scenario of what we're doing, and I'm going to take you through the process, and we're going to look at a couple of things and a couple of options and all. We're going to jump over in the software. Before we jump over in the software, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. Last week when I ended the class, I said I had some upcoming announcements and stuff. I'm kind of revamping some things. What I'm looking at is a way to provide each and every one of you solid, strong content for our live videos, but in a shorter time span to make the projects a little bit more digestible. I know each of every one of you are faithful. You've stuck with me through these long 3-hour courses and things like that and classes and all, and then trying to go back and watch those videos, and find certain parts of those videos and things. I'm going to hopefully in the very near future be able to streamline, kind of create some non-live videos that are short and to the point. We've talked about that in the past, but also on these live classes, kind of keeping them down just a little bit, and but still make it worthwhile for each and every one of you to join me on Tuesday nights for some solid, good information and content and stuff and all. So still haven't worked out all the details. I'm working with our marketing guy at Digital Woodcarver to think about some things. I'm revamping my other YouTube channel where I teach woodworking and see if I can kind of start mashups and things like that. Do some woodworking mistake reviews, whatever the case may be. But I'm looking forward to that. My main goal is on Spindle TV is to keep the live videos and the content free all the time, and just full of good information. So we're working on that. All right, enough of that. I'll get into full details when I know more. I had my initial marketing meeting the other night and working out some details and stuff. But once I know more and everything, I'll let you guys and girls know. We're talking, website revamp, all kinds of things, selling models and projects and stuff like that, having those available, having free projects available for download as well, but also making these videos, these live events, a little bit more digestible and kind of reducing them a bit, but still making you feel like you've got something worthwhile out of it. That being said, let's go ahead and jump over into the Vectric software. We're going to jump over to camera 3. Camera 2 this week. It's camera 2 tonight. And for myself, let's go ahead and throw me down in the corner here. All right. And got to work on my lighting and stuff and all that wonderful jazz. Um, but all right, so welcome Jeff, welcome everybody, welcome. All right, so like I said, we have a concept here of Silver Oaks planning, reservation, Silver Oaks wildlife, preservation, Silver Oaks resort, whatever it may be. It's Silver Oaks. I haven't really thought that far ahead into what the name of the company is, but the customer basically wants something really nice but doesn't have a good idea. So we've got those people sometime that they want us to make them something, but they're really not sure what they want us to make. Or you just want to make something, but you're really not sure what to make. So that's kind of the scenario here. Now, since Silver Oaks, oak trees, got little squirrels, some acorns, oak leaves and all. So let's take a look at some of the design elements we have. I've got a kind of a wreath, if you will, of some oak leaf and acorn vectors. I've got some other, kind of a full wreath. I've got some oak leaves. I got a cool decorative design that we're actually going to redraw. That's going to be the first thing we do, but we're not using this one, but we're going to redraw, and we're going to approach this design in a very easy way to recreate this with added some elements. I've got some acorns and leaves. I got an acorn and leaf here, and then I've got a couple of possible decent oak trees for this. Okay, so and I got a squirrel with a nut. Now, I brought the wreath in as a possibility that maybe this sign wasn't going to be square, or something. Maybe it was going to be a round sign with something in the middle, but this is kind of busy. This will be a great future project for something and all. But I definitely want to use this wreath here, but we're going to cut up the vector and we're going to split it into two elements. You'll see how we'll use that in a minute. And I definitely want to use this corner bracket, but with a complete and total redesign. I want to use something, a little bit of everything here. And let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do with it. So first of all, my design size. I am going to max it out on a height. I'm going to go about 23.5 inches. 11 and a quarter, 22.5 inches. I'm going to max it out there at 22.5 inches tall. And I'm going to go probably about 32 to 36 inches wide. For this, I may end up going 32. I'm not sure yet. And we're going to go with 3/4. If I want some deeper elements, I may go with like 1.5 inches. Especially if I was going to be an outdoor sign, I was going to use sign foam. I use 1.5 inch sign foam. But right now we're going to stick with a 3/4 inch board. I will be touching off my Z on the top of the material for this project, and I will be starting from the bottom left corner. Okay. All right. Now, we are going to go ahead and click OK, and now we've got our board layout. Now I'm going to take all of these vectors here, and I'm going to just move them off to the side a little bit off the board so we can start to figure out this design. Now, if I was going to do a square board, what I want to have the top of the design of the board to be cut out in the shape of the tree. If I was going to put the tree at the top, I would want the profile cut out of that tree. I don't want it to be just a square board, with something in it. I actually want it to kind of have a little bit of dimension to it. But before I get into the upper part and things like that, I do want to have a couple of decorative elements in the bottom two corners here. And that element is going to be this L bracket. So let's go ahead and grab this L bracket here and bring it front and center on the screen and zoom into it. And I like this concept. I like this design, but I don't like this design. And what I mean by that is I like the layout and design of it, but I want to change something other than these plants that are here, these flowers, because they're not really oak leaves and all, and it really doesn't go with, but I like the overall look at this. It's definitely, you know, needs to be cleaned up, so we're going to clean it up some. But I want to redesign this really quickly from scratch, and I want to show you how I would approach this. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put this over here, and we'll size it up a little bit bigger. And that will be our muse. Okay, now when I look at this design, not counting the flowers and everything, but when I look at this overall design, I look at its shapes. And what shapes do I see, right? What shapes can I use to quickly create this very easily? Well, right away, I always start off with the rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle. Okay. Now, I'm going to take that rectangle and I'm going to make a copy of it, holding down my control key to pull out a copy. And I'm going to take this copy and I'm going to hit the number 0 on my keyboard to rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm going to hit the number 0 key, rotate counter or clockwise 90 degrees. Number 9 is counterclockwise. Every time you click it, it's 45-degree increments, right? So I'm just going to rotate this, and I'm going to bring this down here and snap it into this corner. Okay. Now, I actually want each of these to be an equal distance length, and right now with the overlap, it's not. So I'm actually going to bring this to here. Okay. So, wait, was I thinking correctly? Hold on a minute. Am I thinking correctly? Horizontal from here to here is 15.5, and vertical from here to here is 13.5. Okay, yeah, I do need to overlap them. Sorry. Man, why is my snap tool not working today? Okay. So let me remeasure that just to make sure, because I said so. Yeah, 13.2. Okay. And from here, basically I should have the same distance on my inside from here to here as I do on my inside from here to here. Okay, 10.9. That's what I want. I want that kind of symmetrical L. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of the dimensions. Let's close our dimension tool and let's delete all these. Now I'm hoping that we don't buffer and all too much. Like, there is a major storm outside my window, so I'm hoping the audio is okay and clear with you guys and girls, and you're not hearing that rain just beat on the outside of the building. Okay, so looking at this, I'm going to take and I'm going to draw another rectangle. Now this rectangle, I want it to be square, you know, somewhat symmetrical and everything. And I want to rotate it 45 degrees. And I want to basically, on this here, I'm going to come up here and I'll get that centered in just a minute, but I'm going to hold down my control key. And I'm also going to drag one down here. Now, looking at the size of my rectangle and everything, I will hold the control key, Lainey. Hold the control key. All right, so I want the center there, and I want the center here. Okay, let's try that again. U, double click, center there. Okay. Now that I have that, I'm going to draw one more rectangle. This one's going to be a bit larger. I want this to be, you know, equally sized as well. So let's go 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. That'll be fine. I'll resize it once I get it into position. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snap that over to here. Now, if you can just look to see what we've got so far, you can start to see this shape starting to kind of come alive, right? And then the last shape I'm going to do is a circle. And let's get that kind of here. So you can start to see from these shapes how things are going to start laying out. Right? Yeah, Ben, yeah, a square. Equal sized is a square. Yes, it is. Jesus Christ. That's funny. Yes, it is. It's a square. I want it to be square. Okay. Now, from here, I want to start kind of, I'll soften some things up in a moment and everything, but I'm going to take these shapes, the rectangle and everything here. I'm going to leave the circle out of the equation for a moment. And I'm going to weld these shapes together to kind of create this, you know, this look here. And I'm going to then come into node editing, and I'm going to delete this span and this span. Okay? I'm going to use my extend tool to extend this line to that line. And then I'm going to come in and trim these two areas here. Okay? Now, I'll still be able to node edit this to open up that circle some more if I want. I'm going to do some node editing here in just a minute. I'm going to do some radius all to kind of smooth this up. It looks very rough right at the moment, but we're just getting the basic concept down. Before I add a radius to this back, I don't want it sticking too far out the back, but I don't want it too close. So what I'm going to do is in node editing, I'm going to grab these two nodes and I'm going to pull them in, and I'm going to type in, I'm holding down my left mouse button and I'm going to type in 0.125 and I'm going to hit enter to bring it in exactly 1/8 of an inch. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with these two nodes. I'm going to select both of them and pull them up, and I'm going to type in 0.125 and hit enter to bring that in 1/8 of an inch, just to reduce that a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to now take my fillet tool, and I'd like a bit of a radius. Let's see what 3/8 looks like. Let's go a little bit more than that. Let's go with about 0.5. I'd like to go a little more than that. Let's go 0.75. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. Now, I'd also like to take this point and round it over a bit. So I'll stick with that 3/4. Okay. And now I'm going to go into node editing mode. And on this line here and this line here, I'm going to turn those into a Bezier curve. And I just want to kind of subtly bring that in slightly. Had to undo that because it was trying to pull the arc. Now on this arc here, rather than an arc, and I've got a radius and all, what's going to end up happening is if I try to bring this curve in a little bit, I'm not getting a nice flow here. Okay, so I'm going to define this curve that I want first. And then down here, I'm going to turn this into a Bezier curve and kind of define that a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to, for the moment, cut the vector here and here. Okay. I'm going to take a line and let's do it a different way. And I'm going to go into node editing and I'm going to cut it here and here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to take this shape here. I'm going to select the line. Let's get out of node editing mode. And I'm going to mirror it by flipping it about the line. Okay. And now on this arc here, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I can get rid of the line now. And I'm going to select these vectors here and join them. I'm going to use the join tool. Now I'd like to join these with a smooth curve to kind of get that nice little curve in there that's kind of pretty well symmetric to the shape. I can go into node editing, and if I want to bring it down some, I can, kind of tone it down a little bit. Whatever the case may be. Let me look and see. All right, I'm going to keep it that shape there. All right. Now, I don't want to have to sit there and try to do, I want the same thing down in this end. I'm not going to sit there and try to duplicate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the vector here and here for the moment. And I'm going to take this object, get out of node editing mode, and I'm going to hold down my control key and drag out a copy. And then I'll go back and rejoin that for right now. And now that I have a copy of this, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Going to come over here into node editing mode, and I'm going to cut the vector here and here. Delete that out, and then I will just snap this into place. Okay. I will take that and join it as one closed vector now. And on this arc here, on this arc, I would like to adjust that a bit. So I'm going to take this and this node here, and I'm going to pull it up. Let's see how far I want to pull it up. I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to pull this up and type in 0.125 and hit enter. Pull that up 1/8 of an inch. Going to delete these 2 points here because I'd like to let's see, let's undo that. I'll keep that. I'll just reduce it down a little. Okay, now what's going to end up happening is I'm going to have an element in here that is similar to this, but it's actually going to be this squirrel right here. So let's get out of node editing mode. And let's come in, and I'm going to flip him. I'm going to go into mirror and uncheck that and flip him horizontally. And I'm going to have him, you know, either kind of in here, or I might bring this down, something in like this, bring his tail in and all. And yeah, I may extend this because all this is going to get sized down at some point. You know, it's going to get scaled down to fit my board. So I may extend these out a little bit taller here in a moment. But eventually all this I want to kind of blend together. Okay? All right. Now, I want this is going to have kind of almost a three-dimensional look to it when it carves in. I want it to kind of stand off a bit. So we'll work on that. But what I need to do right now is I'm going to select this vector. I'm going to go into node editing mode, and I'm going to go ahead and select these nodes, and I'm going to pull out straight, keep straight, and I'm going to go another 1/2 inch out there. And the same thing here. I'm going to select all of these nodes, including this one. And I'm going to pull this up straight and 0.5, enter. Pull that up 1/2 inch. That'll be good. All right, let's go ahead and add in our little circle piece. And I'm going to hold down the Control and the Shift key, and I'm going to drag out another circle to kiss up against that. Excuse me. Now, I want that circle. I want to make sure that circle's dead center. Now, if I go into node editing mode, there is kind of a center point to this arc, to this line basically. But what I can do to just easily help me out here is I'm going to actually snap a line from this edge to this edge, and I'm going to select both of these circles. I'm going to select this line last, and I'm just going to use the alignment tool and align to center to make sure it's centered. So basically, if let's say these were off center, if I select that line last, I could align to center to make sure it lands right dead center. There, okay. I'm going to go ahead and, oops. I'll take this line, no sense in reinventing the wheel, rotate it 90 degrees and snap it to this corner here. And I'll take this circle up here and hold down my Control key, bring that down there. And once again, select this line last, and this time I'm going to line up and down. Right, so I'm going to select this last, and align up and down to center that. Okay, delete the line, it served its purpose. Okay, now these decorative elements here that are through, I like this pattern, especially when it V-carves. I like the way this looks, so I want to recreate that in here. Okay, I want to recreate that in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I don't care how long it is, but I'm just going to make sure it's long enough to extend out past this. Let's move the squirrel for a moment. Let me group him together so I can grab him easier, because we'll end up, I got to size him and stuff. But let's move him for a moment. I just want to show you visually. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an array. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select this. I'm going to create a linear array, and I only want one column for right now. And I'm going to go with a gap in between each one. I just want a small gap. I'm thinking maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Okay. And I'm going to have, I'm just going to go in and put in 20 rows for right now. And I'm going to click copy. And of course I went the wrong direction. Let me look at that gap while I've got it there. All right, that looks good. All right, I went the wrong direction. It is going to be, let's select that again. Need a negative number on the Y. And the X doesn't need anything. So a negative number, and 20 was not enough for sure. So I'm going to go just 40. I'll get rid of whatever I don't need. Okay. And I was so close, but that's okay. Let's, that'll be fine. All right. Now, I'm going to offset this vector here, my shape that I'm creating. I'm going to offset it inward. And I want to offset it inward about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And then I'm going to offset it, that vector, that selected vector, because I have select new selected, I'm going to go another 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these rectangles here. And I'm going to group them together so they're kind of treated like one item. And then I'm going to select this inner vector here last. And that last item that I select is going to be my boundary. Okay. And I basically want to come in and in my trim tool, I want to clear outside of that boundary. And so I'm going to go ahead and click clear to redraw those shapes. Okay. So basically each of these shapes were redrawn for that vector. Okay. Now I'm going to take, I want them, I'm going to take that vector, that boundary that I had, and I'm going to actually offset that inward another, let's go a 1/16. And I'm going to select those rectangles again. I'm going to group them together again, and I'm going to select that new inner boundary there. And I'm going to do that trim one more time. So we're going to trim, clearing outside of that vector. And then I'm going to get rid of that vector. All right, to create that pattern. Okay. Now I'm going to actually snag one of these rectangles because it's the same size I want. I'm going to hold down my control key and come here, and I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. I'm going to come over here and bring that up here. Snap it to the center here. And I'm going to use my left arrow key and kind of pull it back a little bit. Okay. So there. Now, I am going to repeat this pattern in this direction, and somewhere in here they're going to combine. So they're going to kind of be mitered, if you will. And we'll deal with that in a moment. So what I want to do first is go back to my array tool. I'm going to, I'll stick with the 40 rows, that's fine. But this time it's not going to be rows, it's going to be columns with 1 row. So those numbers are going to switch. Same gap distance and everything, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going on the x-axis this time. And it's going to be a negative number because I want to go to the left. And the y will just be 0. And I'm going to copy those across. Okay. Now once again, now I deleted that boundary before. on here. And I need to recreate that 1/16 of an inch offset for my little trim boundary there. I'll get rid of it again in a minute. But now I want to go ahead and select my rectangles that are going vertical. I'm going to select my innermost boundary here. And I'm going to trim with my trim tool, clearing inside that boundary. And now I can delete that boundary. And I've got that going in this direction. Okay. Now here I have my vertical pieces and I've got my horizontal pieces kind of overlapping each other, right? And everything. And I need to kind of figure out the grid mess that I've got here, right? But I need to kind of, I want to do a little bit of trimming to kind of where they come together and they miter. So I'm going to take a line and I'm basically going to make a 45-degree line here. And I'm going to, I'll probably end up doing 2 lines, but I gotta end up start to trim these things to clear out my overlaps. So they are, and just so you know, let me select all the horizontal ones so it's not so confusing for you at the moment. And second here. And I'm just going to select them all the way up, just the horizontal ones for right now. And I'm going to group those together. Okay. Now on my vertical ones, I'll select those. And I'll group those together. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my vertical ones and I'm going to move them to a new layer and I'm going to make that layer red. Just so you can see, well, let's see here. Yeah, we'll go red on the verticals. Let's move these to a new layer. And let's go kind of like a light blue. So we can see, so you can see the grid a little bit better of our overlapping lines and stuff. Okay. Now basically anything as far as my vertical or my horizontal, as far as my horizontal, anything beyond this line right here, I don't need, right? And then anything vertical beyond this line over here, I don't need. So essentially, I'm going to pick one or the other, and I'll be, trimming them in a moment. But basically, they're going to kind of have this dividing line. Now, I could make life simple on myself. I could select this line and offset it in both directions by, let's say, a 1/16 of an inch. That's a little bit too much. Let's go a 30-second. 03125. All right. And so I can get, basically get rid of this one. And I've got two lines, one to trim my vertical to, one to trim my horizontal to. And there'll be like a little divider line right in the middle where they meet. I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me at all because this eventually is going to be covered up with some kind of pattern or design. Okay. All right. All right. I have it almost ready to go. Oh, okay. That was something. Y'all are having a conversation with yourself. I thought something about a creepy lawnmower. I didn't know if you were talking about my haircut or what. Like something ran over me. Okay. So I'm going to come in and we're going to focus one thing at a time. So remember, I set these on two different layers so I can turn one layer off versus the other, right? So I don't have to sit there and go, okay, what line, what am I doing? All that stuff. All I have to do is make sure that the layer that let me delete that one. The layer that I'm working on, just make sure that it's active, right? So that's all I have to do is make sure it's active. And then basically, I'm just going to take my scissors. Let's go ahead and get rid of the waste. And I'm going to focus on this inside line. This is the line that I'm working with here. Okay. And then anything, I've got to ungroup my red lines. Ungroup. And then all I'm going to do is just start trimming things away, right? So I'm literally just going to start working my way down this line. Okay, and then I can get rid of my excess that's out here. Cool beans. All right, there's even this little guy right here. I will, I'll probably omit him, right? Probably omit that one. All right, now as far as my red, anything that's on this side of that line, I can delete. I don't need it. Even this little skinny boy right there. Okay, so that'll take care of those vectors, right? Kind of give me that miter cut. Now we'll go ahead and turn that layer off for a minute. And notice this red line, when I trimmed it, it moved over to that layer, this line right here. It needs to be moved to layer 3 because when I turn the red ones off and turn these blue ones on, I need that line there. And I'm simply just going to repeat the process. Okay. Before I can trim, I've got to ungroup them. I want to make sure that I'm in layer 3 here. And ungroup onto that layer. All right, let's go ahead and let's focus on our line here. We're going to come in. And as far as that little guy right there, I'll probably end up omitting him as well. And let's get rid of this. And so I have that. So when I turn those back on, I've got my little meeting. Now here, I could decide, hey, maybe I just want to fill this in a little bit more to kind of make it match this one just a little bit, not much, So all I have to do in that case is go into node editing, delete this span, and with my extend tool, I can extend to this line, right? So I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm going to delete this span. Okay. With my extend tool, I can extend this from here to this line. And from here to this line. Oh, it didn't do it. Hold on a minute. From here to there. All right, and I got this little L shape right there that I don't need anymore. This one. And I'll just have that, you know, come out. Now, if I really want this to match, then I would just do a straight line right here. And I'm going to use kind of the rectangle method again. And that'll basically kind of give me a general area where I can get rid of that line there. And I could pretty much be okay with that, right? Okay. So now I have this. The one thing that I'm going to do now is I want to take all of these vectors here, not just, you know, my red and blue, I've got them, I had them separated into two different layers just for the ease of trimming and cleaning up and things like that. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select all these vectors. Don't miss any. Click, 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 and then select these. Select these. And I'm drawing a box from right to left, so anything the box touches, it'll select. I'm going to go ahead and group those together now, and I'm going to move them, and I'm just going to make it layer 3, right? I'm going to move them all to layer 3, so they're in there, and I've got that, you know, there. Now, the one thing I liked about these, the elements of these here, is I liked in this design, I liked that there was some kind of little breaking up, you know, of the vectors with little circles and things like that, little teardrop, you know, here. I kind of like that. So I want to emulate that really quickly. And so I'm going to just use an oval tool, and I'm just going to kind of pick a spot and create an oval. Now, so I can keep it kind of symmetrical with the other side and everything, I'm going to use my little line trick again, and I'm going to snap from here to here. I'm going to select that oval and that line, and I'm going to align that oval to the center of that line. Okay, so it's right on the center of that line, both, you know, vertically and horizontally. Okay, I'll go ahead and take that line, hit the number 0 key, rotate it 90 degrees, and let's move it down here and snap it into that corner there. I'm going to take my oval because I like that shape. I'm going to stick with that shape. And I'm going to hold down my control key and grab a copy. Why redraw what you can copy? going to double click it. While it's selected, I'm just going to hold down the shift key and select that line, and again align to center to get it in position. All right, done. Okay. Now I'm going to come in and let's grab a circle, and let's see what size I want my circle to be. Maybe something about like that. I'm going to go with 2 on each side, so I'll throw one right about here. Group these real quick. I can grab these 2 shapes, and I'm between the 4th and the 5th down. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the 12th and 13th down. So that down. 4 and 5 and 12. Did I say 12 and 13 or 13, 14? Let's see here. 4th, 5th, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay, cool. Now, over here, basically right about this straight edge, because remember, I counted 1, 2, 3, and I'm between 4 and 5, right? So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so from this kind of this little this part here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and these 2 I'm going to group together, and then that's 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 I'm going to group together, right? So I'll take these circles, I'll hold down my control key and, well, first of all, that's all right, I'll just take one. Hold the control key down and drag out 2 circles there. And I'll start off with the first circle, and I'll select my group 4 and 5 right here. So first circle, hold the shift key down, select group 4 and 5, and align to center, right? Boom. Come over to this circle, select that, select group 11 and 12, align to center. Done, done. Quick and easy. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now I just had a major drop off. Am I boring you guys and girls to death? I just had like half of y'all fall off. So let me know. Y'all have stopped? Or I've stopped? I've been keeping an eye on my stream. It doesn't look like I've stopped. Am I stopped? I am live. The live button is on. Let me see what's going on here. Can y'all see me? Let me know. I'm going to pause for a minute because there is about a 20-minute delay. Let me know if y'all can see me. It says no data, so you can't see me. Okay, it's saying I got a fairly good connection, not excellent. It is really low. Yeah, I can see it's very low. Um, we will try to get back up. Now, I don't know if y'all saw that. Did it show you at least lining these last two circles over on this leg here? Did it at least show you that? Let me know. All right, we'll see what we can do to yeah, it's horrible. I'll keep an eye on it, guys. We'll see what we can I'll keep an eye on it and we'll see what we can do. I on here I decided on this oval here I'd like to kind of flare it out a bit. Okay. And since I've made that change to that, I'm going to take this and hold down my control key. Again, hit the number 0 to rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to take and snap it to the center of that other ellipse and just delete the other ellipse. Okay, to keep things consistent. All right, now on all of the shapes that are being overlapped by these vectors, we're going to select all of the shapes that are being overlapped by these vectors, and we're going to group them together. I'm going to hit the letter G to group them together. I'm going to select this shape last. Well, no, first of all, let's do a little bit of an offset. So I want to do an offset in the outward direction by a 32nd. Okay, so I'll offset each one of these shapes. I'll offset them outward a 32nd as we do that. So we'll work our way from left to right. So let's get these offset outward. Okay, so I'm going to select these vectors that I've grouped together that are being overlapped by this oval. And I'm going to select this outside oval last. And I'm going to use my trim tool to clear inside the boundary. And the boundary is the last option. Okay. And once I've done that, I can then delete that oval, that outside oval. Same thing here on these two items. They're already grouped together. I'm going to select this circle, the outside circle, clear inside the boundary, and then I can delete that outside circle. Same thing with this group. Select the group, select the outside circle, clear the inside of it, then delete that outside circle. Okay. Let's go up here. I need to first offset these outward, that 32nd. And then once again, I do have a little overlap in there, so I'm going to select this shape, these two, this one, and this one. I'm going to group those together. Oops. Hold on, I had that selected. Okay, group those together. Select that outside boundary and clear with my trim tool inside that boundary. All right, then I can delete that boundary. I don't need it anymore. That's just to redraw those shapes around that shape. Okay, so over here, this should already still be grouped. No, it's not. All right, select those two, group them together. Select them first, select the outside circle last, clear. Delete that outside circle. And select those two, hit G. G for group, right? Select that outside circle, clear. Then I can delete that circle. All right, so that is going to do it for this initial shape and design. The last thing that I need to do is I need this outside boundary here to combine with this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select that circle, and I'm just going to use my left arrow key, and I'm going to bump it once just to get a bit of an overlap there. And I'm simply going to just use my scissors and trim those away. Okay. Same thing over here. I'm just going to grab this circle. I'm going to use the down arrow key just to get it, bump it down once, just to get that overlap. And I'm going to use my trim tool to trim that away. Okay. On the inner circle, it is currently a size of 0.3. I'd like this ring to have a little bit more of a V-carve width to it, so I'm going to bring this inside circle down to 1/4. And I'll do the same thing over here. This inside circle, bring it down to 1/4. All right, cool. All right, that is going to be the reshape of this design here. Now, I'll probably, this has like some kind of leaves on it. I might put some damn oak leaves and acorns up there. I haven't decided yet, but right now I want to see I want to work on the squirrel and everything that I need to do with the squirrel. Okay? Because when this carves, and I can go ahead and move this out of the way, we've got our new shape here. And hopefully, you guys picked up something from this, but this is going to be a decorative corner piece. I'll size it down so it doesn't look too gaudy with two of them, one on each side, right? But let's get the squirrel in place because we're going to have to do some additional vector trimming in a moment with the squirrel. Now, I want the squirrel to kind of literally be, let's see, his feet are there. I want the squirrel kind of be a little bit like this here. And I may even take this vector, ungroup it. I may even take this vector, rotate it. I'm going to use the number 9 key, rotate it, and we may do something like this off the back of this. Yeah. Okay. So before I move that into place, I want to create a boundary around it. So I'm going to go offset, outward. I want to go about 1/8 of an inch. And I just want the outside vectors, not these inside ones. And looking at this, 1/8 of an inch is going to be a bit much. So let's go a 1/16. Let's cut it in half. Offset outward a 1/16. 0.0625. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. That will work. I'm going to make sure that select new is selected. So I just deleted that offset. I'm going to offset it again because I want it selected, because I'm going to turn off this outside boundary that goes around here, because that's really what I want. The inside ones, not so much, but definitely not these inside ones. I may keep this because that'll help it make it look hollow inside. Keep this. Oh hell, I might keep that too. But these three, this one, and that one, I don't want. So I'm just going to hit delete to delete them. Group that all together for the moment. And let's pull this up into this corner. Now let's get off the corner so you can kind of, you know, once it all gets, the design gets done and everything, it'll get moved to the corner. But I'm probably going to size this up a little bit more and probably have it about like that. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, this 90-degree angular shape here, we're going to trim it, trim the vectors. And that circle is going to get totally covered up, but that's okay. Here, I can avoid that. I don't want to get totally covered up. Let's grab the squirrel here and move him up just a little bit. Right about there. And yeah, that'll be good. If his tail was a little bit more curved, if I would have put him in position, I would have had this center arc right here. I would have had it be more of a flowing curve a little bit more for the tail. But that's okay. That's all right. Can work with that. That'll work. So now I've got two shapes that I need to kind of create as one, or at least clear the vectors around it, right? Or at least at a minimum, I need to blend the vectors or combine them, do some trimming and all that stuff. Well, it all depends on what the V-carve is going to look like up to this point. What the V-carve is going to look like up to this point is going to tell me exactly what I want to do with this to get the look that I want. And what I mean by that is, if I came in here and selected everything, and I turn off this vector and turn off the squirrel so that only my shape right here is selected. Remember, a V-carve is going to cut between the lines, skip between the lines, cut between the lines, skip between the lines. Now, I either want these areas here to be raised, or I want these areas to be cut out, cut down, or V-carved in. Right now, with the amount of lines surrounding them, cut, skip, cut, skip. They're going to be raised. If I want them carved in, I need to add one more vector around this assembly of the option. Just all right, guys, what I'm doing, I'm trying to shut down anything and everything. All right. No, it's not. I don't know what it is. It's really driving me crazy. Oh my God. I don't know. I've done everything. I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on this setup, and I don't know why. Why it keeps buffering. Oh, thousands of dollars on this setup, and I just don't know why it's buffering. Okay. I really don't. New computer, new cameras, new freaking video mixer, just everything, and it's still buffering. So I apologize, because this is irritating. I know it is. That's why I'm going to bring these videos down to about an hour digestible, because all right, let's see here. We are going to do a V-carve toolpath to just as a generic toolpath to create this sample, just to get an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay. Now it's saying that selected vectors may contain overlaps and stuff, and I've done everything that I could to prevent overlaps. So I am kind of curious as to what it would be. So I am actually going to go to the vector validator on this. Now remember, we do not have the squirrel or the acorn selected right now. We simply have just the 90-degree angle. So I'm kind of curious as to where my overlaps are. And they're actually within themselves where the shape was redrawn. Right? So I have 8 intersections, and they're here. And so those intersections, if I go into node editing mode, is, you know, what we would consider kind of a zero length span. It's where those two lines are coming together, right? And that technically is a zero length span, more so than an intersection. So once again, I'm going to select everything, turn off the squirrel for the moment, turn off the acorn, and I'm going to vector validate that again. It's not showing as a zero length span, it's showing as an intersection. Okay. And that's basically where two lines are intersecting. And again, if I go into node editing mode, if I pull this back, you can see there's those two nodes, right? I can delete that point at that point. So on each of these, there's another intersection there. Now, that to me is an open vector. For me to be able to pull that like that, that is an open vector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that vector is closed and it shows that it's joined, but I shouldn't be able to pull a node back like that to separate those lines, right? And all that wonderful jazz. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that point and get it out of there. Let's go ahead and, there were 8 of them. I just eliminated 2. So one more time, let's turn off the acorns and the squirrel. Vector validator. So I'm down to 6. So it's everywhere. It's on both sides of the circle, right? So that's all I need to know is it's here and it's on both sides of the circles, right? So I can fix that very easily. I'm going to go into node editing mode. And again, I'm going to pull this node here down, right? So we can see that node right there. And that means that, it's on top or on bottom and all that stuff. So I'm going to pull this down and see I'm grabbing the wrong node. And unfortunately, it's the one that's on the top. There we go. And I can delete that point then. It's hiding. I don't know why it drew it like that when I traced those lines, but I'm going to do the same thing here. Pull this up on this line, and then I can delete that point. All right, that one's done. That one's cleaned up. Let's quickly jump over here. It's the same thing on both the black nodes, not the start points, but the black nodes. So I can pull this back and see it's pulling the arc back. I don't want to pull that arc back. I want to pull this. So I want to make sure I grab the right vector or right node, and it's just barely poking out where I can grab it. It is just barely poking out where I can grab it, and then I can delete it. Okay. So that one's done. I got one more up here. The 2 black nodes. Just barely poking out. Use my left arrow key. I'm just going to use the left arrow key just to move it down and delete. And one more. Grabbing it right on the very tip there. Using my right arrow key this time to move it and delete it. All right. So I have no more overlaps or intersections. I can check it one more time. Whoops. Oh. Turn off the squirrel, turn off the acorn, and no vector validator. No intersections, no blah, blah, blah. Done. Okay, great, awesome. All right, let's calculate that toolpath. And let's take a look at what this corner bracket would look like without, the squirrel and all that stuff in there. It's just a preview. That's all it is. I just create a preview just to kind of see what it would look like when it cuts. Now, the question I ask myself, would it look nicer if it were the other way around? If the areas that are raised up were carved down and the areas that were down are carved up? Well, if we do that, then it's going to be little splinters, right? Carved up and all. I don't want that. So for now, that'll be fine. Okay. It'll look much better when it has some other decorative elements to it, like our squirrel and our acorns. All right, on our acorns here, this outer boundary, we're going to ungroup this. The outer boundary here is going to be the boundary we're going to trim to or connect to. We're basically going to connect this outer vector to this. which means all this inner stuff in here gets deleted, right? Right. So what I want to do first, but though, is my trim tool. Sorry, my trim tool. I had to get my thoughts there. Is I just simply want to trim this line here and trim that line there. That's going to connect this boundary to that. And I need to go over to the other side and right here where it intersects, trim, trim, right? That's all I need to do for that. And then this inner rectangle here is going to get deleted because now the boundary goes around the acorns. Okay. And now I can select this inner vector and it's still all one. I can just hit delete to get rid of it, right? Okay, cool. All right. Now I need these rectangular shapes to be redrawn around these vectors. Okay. Clear tool, right? The clearing. Now, if I were to trim these, now they would literally be right up against that and they'd be touching each other. And I don't want that. So that line I just deleted, I'm going to undo because it actually is going to serve a purpose for us. And then we'll delete it in a moment. But it's going to serve a purpose for us as a boundary. Now, in order for it to be kind of an official boundary, the lines, the two ends of this line right here, have to kind of be joined together. They got to connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a generic arc from here to here. That's not an arc. That's a line, Laney, you son of a gun. Let's undo that. The arc tool, I'm going to snap from here over to here, and I'm just going to pull up an arc. Don't matter how big of an arc, I'm just going to pull up an arc. And that arc and this line are going to get joined together so it's one closed vector. That's all that's important. It has to be a closed vector. Now I can go ahead and select all of these little rectangles. Well, only the ones, I don't need this one because it doesn't overlap the acorn pattern at all. This one does, this one does, this one does. That one does, of course, that and that. Over here, this, 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 all the way to this one, and then these to there. Okay, those vectors I'm going to go ahead and bear with me a moment. All right, I'm going to deselect this vector, this one, and this one. I'm going to group the rest together that are selected. I'm going to group those. These inner ones are completely inside that closed little, loop that I made. So they're going to be eliminated. They're going to be deleted. So I'm just going to go ahead and just manually delete those. Okay. All right, I'm going to ungroup for a minute and turn this one off, group, and delete that one too. Okay, they're in there. These are inside and outside the vector, so, and I don't want to confuse you guys, but here we go. Our grouped vectors are grouped. We're going to select that. We're going to select this boundary last. we're going to trim, clearing inside the boundary. It'll redraw those shapes. And once they're redrawn, I can come over here and delete that vector. So now my leaf is incorporated into that design, right? Okay. Now, here, these two black lines, I am hooked on a feeling. I need them to be closed off. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to group them together. I'm going to select this leaf right here. That'll be my boundary. And if I trim and clear inside the boundary, it should redraw that shape right there. I'm content with that. And on the other side, it should redraw the shape right there. I'm okay with that. And all this inside crap I can delete. So I want to turn this one off. And whatever else is selected, I'm going to... Am I going to delete? Or do I want that corner there? I'm going to delete it. Delete. All right. Now my shape is fully encapsulated into this design. Okay? Okay. I hope that didn't confuse you, that last part. I hope that didn't confuse you. Okay. All right. So now my little acorn pattern is incorporated into this corner shape. It looks weird because everything is blue and red and green and and all that stuff, all those colors. When it all comes together, I'll make it all one color. The reason why they're turning blue is because every time I trim, they're getting put on layer 3, which is blue, right? But it's nice to have them separated for the moment. Now, my squirrel, I'm going to select the squirrel and I'm going to ungroup the squirrel. And on the last, on this outside vector here, okay, I'm going to do an offset. I'm going to offset outward 1/16 of an inch. That's going to be my boundary. Okay, that's going to be my boundary. And once again, these rectangular shapes, really anything kind of going into that boundary, the boundary is the blue line around the squirrel, anything really touching it, I want to select. And I'm focusing on the rectangles for right now. The rectangles. Okay, these are actually not touching it, so they don't need to be messed with. But up here, this one is, that one is, and that one is. Now this one is completely inside, so I'm just going to delete it out. All right, we're going to group what I have together selected right now, and we're going to group those together. And this one here, I'm just going to remove, delete. You won't miss it, trust me. All right, so we're going to select our group. We're going to select our boundary here. And we're going to trim, clearing inside that boundary. Okay. Now, 2 items. This one and this one did not clear. Okay, so that one didn't clear. I don't know if I didn't have it selected properly or not, but we're going to select those 2 and we're going to group those 2 together. We're going to select that boundary again and clear. Interesting. I'm not going to group it. I'm going to do one at a time. Boundary, clear. There we go. Weird, but okay. That'll work. We'll do this one. Boundary, clear. Ooh. Okay. So that one, wonder why. Interesting. Let me look at this vector. Make sure it is closed. It is closed. All right. No worries. I've got scissors. Right? And I'll just redraw it like that. My circle there. Let's might as well trim that too. Okie dokie, tokie dokie. All right, let's go ahead and delete the rest of that. Well, here's another one up here. Hold on a minute, folks. That one's good. This one didn't trim. All right, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to select this. I'll just trim it. 1, 2, 3. Trim, trim. Okie dokie, tokie dokie. All right. Damn, this one didn't do it either. What is happening there, George? Okay, no worries. All right, let's go ahead and delete these vectors. All right, so all of my rectangular shapes, as far as I can see, have been, well, there's one more right there. You son of a gun. All right, let me create my offset again. Offset outward 1/16 of an inch. Select that one. Select that boundary. Trim, clearing inside the boundary. There we go. Now you're working, ain't you? Okay. All right. While I have that vector still there now, my border needs to come up and around the squirrel, right? My border needs to come up and around the squirrel, so it needs to be connected together. So I'm going to scissor trim this one, and all I'm going to do is here where that comes in, I'm going to trim this line here and that line there. That way it'll tie it in. It goes around and around and around all the way up to here, and tie it in. Okay. So now that boundary comes all the way around. Wonderful. All right, let's delete the rest of that blue line, that other boundary. We don't need it anymore. Okay, this blue inner line here. Now I do need, or this is the squirrel's body, right? So I do not need this line here, but I do need it here, right? I need it there. So let me get my offset back in there that I just deleted like a goofball. There we go. And here we're going to trim and trim, and that'll separate this line. This line, you know, goes up to here basically. So we can delete that. We don't need it anymore. This half moon comes around, and it trims here and there. So that creates that vector there. And here, trim, 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 trim. That'll create that little shape. And that's all I'm going to do there. Okay, guys, this was supposed to be pretty straightforward. Let me delete that. Okay. Let me delete this. Okay. And here, one more time, let me put my offset back there. Dadgummit, I keep deleting it too soon. I need to, on my two black lines here, they're going to get trimmed here, 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 and there to close that off there. Okay. These will get deleted all the way up to here, right? So we can trim, 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 trim. And that'll complete that. Those two black lines all the way up to here. Come on, Laney. Make this where it's not so complicated for the folk. All right, we'll do that. Man, let me undo that. Yeah, we'll trim that. Okay, so this black line, it goes all the way up to here. So up to here. The tail will be covering it there. There's a few spots right here. I'm not sweating those. I'm just going to come up here. And that will finish that off. Okay. These two lines will get deleted. This vector will get deleted. And we are finally done with that. So now let's V-carve this whole thing. First of all, I'm going to do a safe check. Select all open vectors. There's one open vector right there. That gets deleted. Right, there we go. All right, so those got deleted. I forgot to delete those. All right, let's do a V-carve sample. Let's see what this will look like as a corner piece. Oh, I'm actually going to do one more thing. Last thing. I'm going to take this outside boundary right here, and I'm going to offset it outward another full quarter. 3/16. 3/16. 0.1875. Hope I didn't lose you guys on that. I really hope I didn't lose you guys. All right. Let's go ahead and V-carve this. Remembering it's going to cut between the lines here. Skip. Cut. Skip. Cut. Okay. I don't want to do that. So I am going to select everything except for that offset that I just created. That offset's going to have a separate purpose. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and we'll turn that offset off. I don't want that in there yet. So let's calculate this toolpath. Continue anyway. I've got some overlapping lines. There are 3 duplicate vectors. They're going to be ignored. Okay, I'll get rid of those. And this one's going to cut through because of the squirrel body, Laney. You know that. So let's see here. Cut, skip, cut, skip, cut. Ah. Ooh. Oh. Bummer. Bear with me. Cut, skip, cut. Cut between lines, skip between lines, cut between lines. Okay, I don't want that. I need one more vector around the squirrel. Dadgummit. And I didn't give myself any room to do. Bear with me, guys. Cut, skip, cut, skip, cut. Okay, hell, let's just do a V-carve. Let's see what it looks like as this. Let's set a flat depth. It's not going to look good because of the squirrel, but I do want you to see it so you can see what the additional vector is going to do. Let's go ahead and calculate this. Continue. I got some duplicates I got to get rid of. We'll fix that. And if we reset the preview, preview the visible toolpath, okay, it's going to look like this. Okay. All right. I need to reverse that a little bit. Okay. I don't want this area, this stuff cutting down like it is here, and I don't want those acorns cutting out. I need to reverse that, but I like the way the squirrel looks, right? So we're going to add one more offset, and it's actually going to be on this line here. I'm going to do an offset a 16th. Let's calculate that again. Oh, did I just screw myself up? I bet you I screwed myself up. I think it's going to carve the squirrel reverse now. I need an extra vector around the squirrel, but let's find out. Calculate, continue. I need an extra vector just around the squirrel. Yep. All right. So that extra line, it cuts the squirrel in reverse. I don't want that. Okay, I want everything else, but I don't want that. So that extra offset that I did is nice, because it cuts this part like I want it. But the squirrel, my compadre squirrel here, I need an additional line around him, just around him. So man, after all that trimming I did, I needed to have one extra line around him and then trim everything to that line. Because now I've got to do the line inward a small amount. If I go outward, I might be able to go outward. Outward, let's see, a 16th. That takes me right up to those vectors. Right up to those vectors. And I'm going to get all kinds of warning in the software, so I might have to back it off a 16th, but let's go ahead and do that again. V-carve toolpath. A lot of vectors in there. Continue anyway. Click OK. Reset the preview. Preview the visible toolpath. This is going to be the look that I want for that corner bracket. But I got a hole in the tail. All right, what's happening with my hole there? I'm pretty much safe to just remove that vector. We'll just remove it and pretend we didn't. Let's calculate that again. Got a lot of warnings popping up. There's some open vectors, duplicates, and all that. But this is going to be the corner bracket I want. Man, 2 hours to create that corner bracket. I'm so sorry, guys. That was supposed to be quick and easy. It only, when I don't have to explain it and everything, I can fly through it. Right. All right, the 1/8 of an inch. I'm not happy with that. I don't like the limit, right? So, but I do have to limit it some. So I'm going to give it a big limit. I want this to be deep. I'm going to go, I'll just limit it to 3/8 of an inch, right? That's fine for me. Limit it to 3/8 of an inch. Continue anyway. Because it's going to be smaller. It's going to be much smaller in the corner. But I want this, when it gets carved, I want the nice V grooves in my patterns here. Okay. Let's give this a different color for right now. And so that's what the corner bracket's going to look like of the sign. Okay. So now we don't have that circle in the squirrel's tail. Okay. So let's go ahead and get it in the corner. Get it sized down to the size. Well, first of all, let's get rid of our duplicate vectors. So right click, select all duplicate vectors. Okay, they're right there. Right click, delete. Select all duplicate vectors. No duplicates in the design. Good. Okay. Let's get that size down so we can move the heck on. We haven't even got this. All right, I'm going to mirror this, flipping it about job center, flipping it horizontally. Okay, that's going to be the main kind of design there. Let's go ahead and get a rectangle on the board here. And what I want to do is I want a frame around this, a little bit of a frame. So I want to offset that rectangle inward. Offset inward. And I'm going to probably do a 3/4 inch frame. Okay. And so that tells me that my little corner brackets are going to be, man, I almost kind of want to trim this rectangle to this outside vector here. So, but no. Let's just move this one up a little bit. Okay, let's select this one, delete it. Select this one, mirror it, flip it horizontally. Okay. So that's going to be my two bottom elements of this design. Okay. All right. Shoo, doggy. That was crazy. All right. Now let's get some text on here so we can lay everything out. Silver. Do I want all capital? Do I want capital and lowercase? Silver oaks. All right, let's make this text height 2 inches tall. Let's get it on the board and let's change it to, I'm going to use Royal Signage. Come on, Royal. Let's get it centered. Let's bring it down a little bit. Actually I'm probably gonna throw this right here in the center. Align this to left and right to the center there. Okay. And make sure that this is centered left to right. And now I got to put in the littler text, Silver Oaks. This will be 1.5 inches tall. Wildlife Resort. Trying to think. Silver Oaks Wildlife Preserve. Oh, just this is a sample, Laney. This ain't a real company. Let's go Silver Oaks. Retirement. Center. Okay, let's take this and let's drop this down here. I'm going to draw a rectangle right here. Small little rectangle. I'm going to hold down my control key, or I'm going to select that rectangle. I'm going to hold down my control key. Move that over here. And minimize that a little bit. Okay. All right. We'll probably change the text on this one. Retirement. Okay, let's change the text up on this a little bit. Go into our font tool. Let's select this font here first, Retirement. Let's go to ooh. Let's see, what the hell am I clicking on there? Okay. Let's make that. Oh, I'm stupid. Hold on a second. I'm not stupid, but hold on a second. Retirement, space. Let's do this all as one word. Retirement Center. Let's get rid of this word, center. Let's get this centered on the board and sized down. This will make sense in a minute. Let's get that centered. Is Silver Oak centered? There we go. Okay, this guy right here, I was wondering what was throwing me off. This is going to, it's going to be just a bit smaller, just a little bit smaller. And it's going to be hanging off what I want it to hang off of. We'll be close. That'll be fine. God, man, let's see here. Let me take this, align to center. That's center. Okay, it's got to be center. So we'll hang it off the end. Let me lower that down with the down arrow key. and I might make a little eye loop or something there to hang it in, but we'll leave it there for right now. Okay, Silver Oaks Retirement Center. We're going to take a tree. Now, what tree are we going to use? I'm going to let you guys and girls vote on this, okay? So, we're going to take a look at tree number 1 and tree number 2. I'm just throwing them on the board. We're going to V-carve these 2 trees exactly as they are for the moment, making sure that Silver Oaks is not selected. Again, just as a test, we're going to come in and do a V-carve toolpath, no flat depth, calculate the toolpath. There is definitely some overlapping vectors, but I'm not going to worry about them because they're small, little, insignificant ones. But there's some overlapping little pixels. Okay, cancel. Let's really quick. Let me put a size limit in here. 0.375. Calculate. Let's do that again. And then we're going to preview that oak. Now it's going to be in the center. It's going to be large. And the frame is actually going to be profile cut to it. Come on. All right, let's reset that preview. Preview the selected toolpath. Okay. So here's the 2 oaks. Take a good look. We'll zoom in one at a time. So this is that one. This is the other one. This is both of them. Oak 1 is on the left. Oak 2 is on the right. Which one do you like? Tell me, tell me, tell me. Number 2. I see a number 2. I got 1 vote for number 2. Let me know. Get some audience participation. 2, 1. All right. Which one looks more like a tree that you would like to, that would look good on the top of this sign? Number 1 or number 2? I know, Bruce, that the left is an oak. The right one is an oak too, but the leaves don't look like it, right? But they're both oaks. It's just the other one, the guy who drew it didn't draw the leaves very well. All right, so I'm going to say 1. Right doesn't look like an oak. 2 doesn't look like an oak. Okay, very good. All right. So we're going to go with number 1. Let's go ahead and delete that out. Well, not delete it out. Sorry. I'll use that in another project. I'll end up exporting that as a DXF somewhere. Okay. All right. So there's only 2 more elements that are going to accompany this to finish off this design. Let's go ahead and grab this here, group it together, and I want to get it up here and centered. Centered. I got some kind of funky thing right there. I hope that's not my... That is my piece over there. Hold on a minute. Undo. Select the tree without selecting my... ungroup that. Let me turn these off. These vectors. I was wondering where they were coming from. I was like, man, what is that? I would have been mad if I'd have carved that sign and all of a sudden didn't realize those parts were there. All right, so this is going to go up here. There's one more element that's going to be added to this. We're going to align to center. Now it doesn't, it's not a very, leafy oak and all that, but we're going to fix that here in just a second. We're going to create that shape there. Okay, now I want one more element. This is the last element. Now this element is a little bit overkill as it is right now. We're going to really quickly rotate this all the way around. Okay? In the center here, right down the freaking middle, I'm going to draw a line. Straight line, 90 degrees. I'm going to select this object. I'm going to select this line and I'm going to align it to that line to the center. That'll give me an approximate center of that shape. Okie dokie, okie dokie. And basically what I'm going to do is trim. First of all, I got to ungroup this. Ungroup this. And I think I'm just going to come to here, select my line, hold down my control key and come over to here, and I'm just going to basically kind of eliminate that middle area. So I'm going to use my scissors here and basically trim to that line just to cut it off. Okay, so I'm going to trim. All right, all the middle stuff here in the middle is going to get deleted. We're going to take the scissors and we're going to trim this excess line off here. This excess line here and here. And then basically on this shape here, the vector, this line went out and this line went in. So that was a wrong trim right there. This line's going to come here. We're going to go into node editing mode, turn this into a Bezier curve, and we're just going to kind of manipulate the shape a little bit just to give it just a little bit of a shape. This one here, this vector needs to be closed off to this one over here. So again, I will take a line and connect it from here to here. Use the node editing, Bezier curve, pull this out. Just to kind of emulate that outer shape a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, no two shapes are the same. Let's go ahead and join this and this as a closed vector. Okay. And this one should be closed already. Great. Wonderful. Shazam. All right, let's go over here and do the same thing. We're going to go into node editing. I'm going to turn this line into a Bezier curve. Again, I'm just kind of giving it some type of organic shape, if you will, something. And let's take a line, connect this to that, spacebar, and node editing. Turn that into a Bezier curve, and let's try to emulate that shape just a little bit. Okay, that's fine, just organic shape. All right, this two vectors inside here, this one and this little shape here, we got to join it to close it. All right, so now I have two halves that I want to rotate, if you will. Okay, I've got two halves. Bear with me a second here. Let me select this one and group it together. This one and group it together. And basically what I would like is to have this rotate ever so much. And this may not look good. It may not work the way I envisioned it earlier. But we will find out in a moment. We will find out here in a moment. All right, so the question is now I basically somewhat want these two to be the same height, so I will take this one and then this one and I will align up and down to get them somewhat even. Okay, and what I'm going to do now on those while they're selected, I am going to lower them down a bit. Bear with me. All right, I want to back that off a little bit. Okay, and I want a little bit of overlap over there. Great, excellent, wonderful, good job. Okay, so on this side, again, I'm going to select this one last. It's what I want to align to. This is the one I want to align. And I'm going to line up and down, right, to get that same height across there. And that should, I'm not trying for symmetrical right this second. I'm just trying for something that might look all right. Let me select all three of these, align to the center. Okay. All right. This vector here, let's ungroup everything. This will make sense in 2 seconds. The tree, ungroup the tree, ungroup this. Okay. ungroup these three things. I want to take the outside border of each one of these. This outside border. This outside border. And you son of a gun. This one, and this one. And I want to offset it outward. I want to go outward, offset outward. I'm going to have to make my board bigger, by the way. Or lower it down, lower the tree and everything down. We'll figure that out in just a second. I want to offset it outward 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And I'm only using just a portion of this. So let's close this. I'm going to use my scissor tool and I'm going to trim away this inner vector. Come on, come on, come on. It's got to think about it. Okay. I'm going to trim away this vector here and this vector here. I'm going to trim away this vector here. That vector. That vector. Okay. This may be an ugly looking sign when we're all said and done. Who knows? Right? It's a concept right now. It's a concept design. Things to think about, things to change around. You know, not bad so far. Okay. So this blue line right here, delete that. It doesn't belong anymore. This one going across, delete that. And that's it for that. So now I have kind of the outside shape of my frame. Let's go ahead and let's take this design and oh, I really hate to do this. Let's see here. Let me see if I can. I want to keep my aspect ratio. Let's align it to center. Okay, that's going to be about the max we got there. All right. So overall width, now this rectangle here is going to get kicked away too. Bear with me and it will. This rectangle, this square out here. We'll do that in just a moment. Yep, okay. Let's go ahead and this rectangle here, it's trimming. We're going to take our scissors and trim that. Oh, hold on a minute. This one, let's offset this outward. My 3/4. Offset outward by 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. You son of a gun. Okay. Let's see if I can get that centered. I only have 24 inches, so I'm at 22 3/4. Let's make that board a little bit taller. I don't want to size it anymore. Let's go the full 24 inches. Okay, let's take this and let's size it. Try that again. All right, here we go. Size it. I want to 23.75. Want to try to maximize as much as I can. So that's what that sign size is going to be. Let's go ahead and let's carve this and see what it looks like. Holy tamale. All right, so Silver Oaks Retirement Center and the arcs. I probably want to put another offset around that middle leaf, but let's go ahead and do it to it here. V-carve toolpath. I am going to limit the cut depth to 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. We're going to calculate that toolpath. Okay, we're going to continue anyway. Those overlaps and everything are going to be what's inside the ooh, what happened to my squirrel, man? Okay, I don't know what happened to the squirrel, but I'm gonna delete him. This one's a good one, and I'm going to mirror him, flipping about job center, flip horizontally. All right, let's try that again. We're going to do this two ways. One is a V-carve, then we're going to do it as a raised design. I think it's going to look better as a raised design, but we'll find out here in just a few minutes. It's going to look better as a raised design, but we're doing it just as a V-carve right at the moment. Man, what is happening with my squirrel? What's going on with my squirrel on the left? It's the same one as the one on the right. I just mirrored it. But if we look at it in the toolpath here, this squirrel's getting carved away. Right? It's weird. Right? So, what's the dealio? I'm going to delete that vector that I have selected there. because it was acting like a duplicate. Do I have it over here? Now, when I delete that, that's going to create, once again, let me test the squirrel. Dadgummit. Hold on. Calculate. Okay, so that's not what I want. Preview the visible toolpath. It's what I want on the bracket. It's not what I want on the squirrel. So that's why I needed that extra offset around that squirrel. And maybe that offset was too much. It was overlapping with the lines. The software decided, hey, I'm going to be a pain in the butt and cause you all kinds of trouble. So I'm just going to offset a line outward instead of a 1/16 of an inch like I did before that brought me up to here. I'm going to cheat it a little. 0.06. Ooh, sorry. 32nd. 0.03. Oh, you son of a gun. Put a decimal in there, son. Put a decimal. 0.03. All right, I don't want sharp corners on this, so no sharp corners. Okay, so I don't have any overlapping lines. Now, I need to do the same thing on this guy because let me check him. Vcarve Toolpath. Calculate, continue. Yeah. Okay, so turn that off. All right, on the squirrel here, I'm going to offset outward 0.03. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and one more time select all of this except for the two borders. Delete all of these. Those were samples. I froze up the software. Stand by. Save early and save often. Okay, that's good. Okay, Vcarve Toolpath. Calculate. Wonderful. Yes. Those overlapping vectors are in the wreath up top and the tree, yoke tree. Okay. Preview the visible toolpath. Damned if that dang squirrel on the left did not get cut away again. I'm glad the microphone picks all that stuff up in the background when you have somebody yelling, "Don't cuss." That was me. What is up, my brother? What is your deal? Did I not fix you? Here. That's my problem. Here. But why is the left side working and the right side's not? They're both the same issue. Give me a second, guys. and girls, we're going to wrap this up. They're both the same issue, but one is carving correctly and the one on the left is carving incorrectly. That is stupid crazy. And if I just do it again, if I delete the one on the left and I mirror the one on the right, it's going to give me the same issue. Flip horizontal. Swear it's going to give me the same issue. If I select this, turn this off. Select everything. Turn that off. Calculate. The scroll on the left is going to cut wrong. And yes, I know there's overlapping vectors and I'm going to fix them. I saw them in the tail. Why, oh why? This is the glitch in the software where one side works, one side doesn't. Why is that? I don't know. I have no clue. Oh, now, oh jeez. It's working now. All right, preview the visible toolpath. Okay, let's do a profile cut. We still got to do something with the inside border. I'll show you what we're going to do with that in just a minute. But a profile cut, cutting 3/4 of an inch thick. We'll use a 1/4 inch end mill. Again, this would look much better as a raised design. We'll show you that effect in just a moment. Reset. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay, that's that and that. All right, let's do our inside cut. We're going to do a profile cut, but this time with a V-bit. And we're only going to cut down 3/16 of an inch deep on the line. Calculate. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay. So this is concept sign number 1. Okay. Now, if we look closely, there's an issue on the back of this design right here. There's an issue right here, you know, but if we look at the other side, that issue doesn't exist. Okay, so that's something that I've got to fix, you know, that we'll fix, but this is concept sign number 1. I think, I don't know. I could throw some more acorns or leaves over here. I don't know. What do you all think? What do you think so far? Okay. That's concept number 1. Now we're going to do it as a raised effect. Is one a red squirrel and the other a gray squirrel? Don't ask me questions like that, man. They're the same. All right, so that's concept number 1. Now, concept number 2 is doing a raised effect, but with the raised effect, I want the leaves and everything to carve as they did here. Okay, and I want the tree to carve as it did, but I want all of this carved away, giving it kind of a little bit of a dimensional look here, and I want the letters raised. This is going to get raised, and this is going to get raised up. Okay, in order to do that, I have to add a couple of extra vectors. So the vector number 1 that needs to be added is going to be a vector that is around the entire project here. Okay, we're going to offset this outward. I'm going to go a full quarter. Am I going to go a full quarter? No. Let's go a full 1/8. Okay, good enough. On this design here, okay, I'm going to actually bump it down just a little bit. And I'm going to offset that one outward 1/8 of an inch. And on this design here, this border here, I'm going to offset that out 1/8 of an inch. Very good. That will allow everything around here to carve. On this boundary here, the tree boundary and this boundary here, I want to offset outward as well. 1/8 of an inch will be fine. I'm going to hold down the shift key and deselect this, and whatever selected on the inside, I'm going to hit the delete key. Okay, so I just want this extra boundary that's here. And actually, what I went, 1/8. I'm going to go another. I'm going to undo that. Okay, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to select that again. All right, so this, the tree outline, and this, and I'm going to offset it outward 1/4. Okay. I'm going to hold the... No, Laney, you goofball. It was 1/8. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. All right, 0.125. 1/8. There we go. Okay, so I've got that. That's exactly what I need there. Delete that. So I should have a border that goes all the way around. Let me do a little bit of trimming real quick. Bear with me a second. Node editing mode. On this leaf right here, I need to I'm going to pull this out, and it's going to be a funky shape, but I don't care. And I'm going to snip this line. And this line to join those two things together. And over on the other side, same thing. I'm going to snip this line and this line. And down here, these two. I had some overlaps I needed to get rid of. Okay. All right. So now I've got everything protected there, or ready to raise that I want to raise. This here needs to come down in size just a little bit for this one. That'll work. All right, let's do this again. Select the entire design. We're going to turn off this outside border only. Everything else is going to remain selected. It's going to be a V-carve toolpath with a flat depth. I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. probably maybe a quarter later, but right now we're just going to go 1/8. We're going to use a flat area clearance tool of 1/4 inch end mill, 1/8 inch end mill, and even a 1/16. My V-bit, 60-degree V-bit, is going to do all the edge work, and then I'm going to do a transition of the 3 end mills to get as close and into the detail areas as possible. We're going to calculate this tool path. What it caused is some of the vectors to appear blue, because as I was trimming them and creating them, they are automatically getting thrown on to my active layer. My active layer is currently layer 3, and all the vectors on that layer are colored blue. So it helps me realize kind of what I'm trimming and stuff, so I can see the color change, knowing that that vector has been worked with and stuff. But if that confuses you, just go up into your layer, your active layer, because that's what everything is getting thrown onto, is the active layer. Make it a black color or whatever. But that's why 1 minute they're one color, and then when I trim or do something with them, they are blue, because once I change that vector, it gets thrown on to the active layer, which is my layer 3. So what I do is, you know, I'll have all my black, you know, all my vectors, you know, like on layer 1, they're black or whatever color. And then I'll create a second layer with a different color and make that my active layer. And as I'm working with it, those lines will change colors, and it kind of lets me know my progress and what I'm working with and what I'm not. All right, let's reset this preview and preview the visible toolpath. So the 1/4 inch end mill is going to go in and do its 1/4 inch work. Okay, and then let's go ahead and go in into our profile cut and preview that toolpath. Get rid of our halves, and there would be our sign. Now, I could take this one step further and add a texture in here, give it a little bit of a texture inside of this, and all. Or I could have it just a plain background, you know, whatever tickles your fancy. Right, so let's turn this off and let's look at it from the side. So we have this raised effect here. So everything is raised up and carved away. And if we add some color to it, whatever color, you know, let's go into more custom colors. Let's darken that up a little bit, darker brown. Fun times. All right. And what's the time for that, right? What's the run time? So as the raised design, now again, I have a couple of fixes that I need to do over here on this back vector. It's getting carved away when it shouldn't. Got a couple of fixes that I need to do there. We might go and look at that in a second, but let's look at the time so far. So let's put the profile cut down at the bottom. And if we were to do this as the simple V carve, right? The simple V carve with our profile cut out, our runtime would be about 6 hours on this design. And most of that time, one, it's 30 whatever inches by this, but also most of that time is right in here, this area here, all the leaves and everything. Now I can reduce that time if I add an end mill to the flat depth on that bit. I can reduce that time significantly, but we're about 6 hours. Okay. Now, if we look at the second option, the raised option, where we have 3 different bits coming in, and then our V bit and everything, we are about 11 hours in. Oh, 11 hours on that. The longest runtime is going to be the V carve. You know, getting all of those areas inside the tree and all that stuff. So it's either going to be a 6-hour carve or an 11-hour carve for that project. And again, that project size, it's on a 32 by 24, but the actual final cutout of this was 28 by 32 and 3/4. So 28 and a half by 32 and 3/4. There. Now, if I, let's go ahead and preview that visible toolpath one more time. And we're going to take a good look at this design and see if there are any other mistakes besides, or the other issues besides what's on the back here. So let's get rid of this. Let's come up and inspect the top up here. So the leaves and the acorns are carving exactly like I want them to here, and then the tree leaves are carving exactly like I want it to there. And these, but I have an issue right here on this leaf, right? This leaf has got a big hole here. Now that might be by design. We're going to go look at it and everything, but most of all the other leaves have just a vein running through. So if we come in and look at that design, it's because there is a whole lot of something going on. Okay, and what that lot of something going on is when I did an offset earlier, I didn't delete the vectors that were generated that covered up that vein, right? So that's all that was. It was just an offset. Here's another one. When I did that offset, this vector was created here. And, you know, it needs to be removed. Same thing with this one. Okay. So there were a couple of little issues there. Now, down here on the squirrel, the reason why this area here is getting milled away, let's look at it in the design. So this area here is getting milled away right here. When, if we go into the 2D view, and I'll go to the solid view here, and let's turn on the Toolpath. This will show you where the bit is cutting. This vector here should be left or remaining. It shouldn't be carved away. And the reason why it's carved away is because the tail, this offset here, lines are overlapping it. Now it's overlapping these other lines, but it's not affecting them and everything. So what we're going to do, it's a very simple fix. Let's uncheck these toolpaths here. We're going to take this vector, and we're going to offset it outward a 32nd. Okay. We got to remember what vector that is because we're going to be deleting it in a moment. But we're going to use our scissors and simply this vector here, this vector, you know, that comes around here, we'll trim. Okay. And this little thin vector right here, might as well fix it while we're there. So that will fix that one. Now down here on the other side, same thing. It's going to dead end here. And it's going to dead end there. Okay. These 3 blue lines get deleted and eliminated. Or 4, not 3. And then our offset that we created all the way around gets deleted as well. We just used it to create that. All right, and that will fix that issue. Now that issue also is over here, right? So we're going to go ahead and offset this one outward. Even though it did not cause the problem or a problem, we're still going to fix it. So we're going to offset outward that 32nd. We're going to come in with our scissor tool and our little stripe here. So it's going to dead end there. And then our bigger stripe here is going to dead end there. Down below, same thing. Trim these 2 lines and that one to separate that little stripe from the big guy here. And that one. This 3 lines get deleted. 4 lines, sorry I said it again, the 4 lines. And then our vector, the rest of that vector that we offset, you know, all the way around gets deleted. Right? So now we have that, you know, issue. Now here on the tail, when we look at this in the 3D view, you know, we can tell there's an obvious gap. We probably could have had those vectors continue on in here in the tail and everything, but I'm not gonna sweat that little tail area and stuff. If it's something that, you know, if I was, you know, I mean, I could just simply redraw in that rectangle right there to fill in that area there, here, you know, with this rectangle, not the little one. The little one wouldn't apply. If I wanted to, I could simply come in and draw a rectangle this wide and drag that rectangle straight down and centered. I could stretch it out. I could take that vector again and offset it. Here, let's do this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I could offset this vector outward again a 32nd. And then I could take my scissors and trim this rectangle to that shape and down here to that shape. I could delete this part of the rectangle, this part, and then go through and delete that offset and delete that upper part of that rectangle. And now I could fill in that blank, right? I could take that blank and just simply mirror it, flipping and make a copy about the other side horizontally, and that'll throw it over here in the same place on the other side. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right, let's go ahead and really quickly come in here and reselect these vectors and recalculate it with those fixes and see what we did. Okay. All right. Any questions up to this point? Because we're going to wrap up here. This is going to be the end of this design. But just a concept. You know, we had a scenario where we had someone that wanted a sign. They weren't sure what they wanted. They thought, you know, maybe some acorns and leaves, oak leaves, maybe an oak tree, something that kind of, you know, represents silver oaks, you know, a couple of squirrels chilling and relaxing and all. It's a retirement center, whatever the case may be, right? We just took some elements. One element I really liked was the corner block, but it needed some redrawing. So we recreated a new one with some simple shapes and outlines and stuff. These concepts and things like this come up from time to time where you're given some kind of direction, but no real, this is what I want. So we got to come up with some concepts to share and all. This would get emailed. This preview would get emailed to the customer and say, hey, here's what I come up with. What do you think? Anything you want to change? Anything you want to add? You want something different? You know, am I heading in the right direction? All those kind of things, those concept designs and stuff. Hopefully you maybe picked up a thing or two from this class while this finishes calculating. And then once it calculates, we'll preview and see our adjustments, our fixes. Let's reset our preview and preview the visible toolpath. And then we'll call it a night. And again, this might even look good with a small texture in it in the background instead of a flat area. But let's do the profile cut. Our fixes look just fine. Hello? Profile cut. Our leaves look better up here, you know, by eliminating those extra offsets we had. So everything looks good here. You know, may even go in and do some actual painting on the squirrels or what have you, and like give them some real, you know, nice color to them. This is just a concept. The funny thing about this is, I'm not sure what the problem is, but notice that the circle here is cut through. But down here, it's not. And that's the same way on both sides. Interesting. And the reason for that is this circle does not have our little circle in the middle. Somehow it got deleted. That little circle in the center is there. It got deleted from the upper ones. And when it got deleted, when that project was mirrored, you know, it mirrored over to the same. So we had that little circle, so it was missing and stuff. No big deal right this moment. It doesn't look too shabby. But I probably, if I were looking at this, I would probably put the circle back in there so I had the little dot. Or, I don't know, leave it out. But I like the way this leaf here turned out. Not bad on the detail. You know, all that jazz. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with me. In the future, we're going to focus on one element at a time or something. It's going to be a shorter class, so it's a little bit more to retain. Once we were getting into a little bit of those issues with those L brackets, and we started, okay, he lost me when he started trimming vectors and doing this and doing that and everything. It's very easy to get lost, especially when you're doing something like that and all. But hopefully I didn't lose you. Hopefully you can go back and, maybe watch that section again, because as we were getting towards the end of that L bracket, it was getting a little bit convoluted. I'm going to try to eliminate that in the future, but it is what it is. All right, everybody. Let's see here. Let's answer a couple of questions and then we'll call it a day. If you wanted to have just the words raised and the rest V-carves, would you just put an offset around the words only and then change the V-carve start depth? Yes. You would, if you wanted the words raised, Silverworks Retirement Center, and then the rest, the rest of the board flat, just that section raised and then the rest V-carved in, you would have to put some kind of offset border around the words, right? So it has to have some kind of offset. As far as changing the start depth, no. Yes, I'm sorry. If like I did an 1/8 of an inch pocket, if our words are raised up, an 1/8 of an inch, that means everything else is getting carved away. No, the way you said it, if you wanted just the words raised and the rest V carved, if I wanted the words raised and then those other things V carved down in the bottom of that pocket, then I would just select the boundary and the words, not the squirrels, not that oak leaf or anything like that, and it'll carve everything else away. Then I can do a V carve down in that pocket of those items, and I would, your start depth would be 1/8 of an inch. So, yeah, you would just change the start depth of the V carve items down to 1/8 of an inch. Let's see here. When you did the arrays in the beginning, if you wanted oval like the original, would you have to do many separate shapes, or is there an easier way? So when I did those arrays and everything and all, because I was trimming those arrays to a boundary, if I wanted an oval shape, then I would have created the rectangle with the, as an oval shape. I would have created, radius the two ends, and I would have made them small enough that I could just array them in here without having to do any edge trimming or clearing. Because the minute I clear, it's going to change those shapes automatically. So I would have made those ovals small enough that they would have cleared. And then in the wider areas, I would have just stretched the ovals out. So I would have made those shapes narrow enough with the radiused edges and all that I could just array them down without having to trim them to the border or none of that stuff, like we did. And then on the wider spaces, those rectangles or those ovals, whatever you be, I would stretch them out appropriately, one at a time, till they fit in there the way I wanted. Hey, Lainey, I'm glad to be back. Will you have any time tomorrow to help set up the quick set tool? Did you get the brackets? Thanks, Dave. Dave, I did get the brackets. Unfortunately, I'll have to talk to you about that. I didn't have your phone number off the top of my head. The L brackets, which I loved, they don't fit on my table because of the spacing of my slats and everything. And the way that they would have to span. I'll show you that, or we'll talk about that tomorrow. You can give me a call anytime after 1 o'clock p.m. I've got trainings up until 1 o'clock p.m. Give me a call and we'll discuss it. As far as the quick set tool, yeah, we can definitely set that up and add in that feature that I told you about the auto touch on the Z. Cool. Let's see here. Oh, Mark, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm hoping this helps. But I'm also going to, like I said, we're going to look at, kind of condensing these down a little bit and focusing, like, that bracket, just making that corner bracket could have been a class, right? We could have been, once it was made, it was done. And then, hey, now that we have that made, the next class will put it together and stuff. So it's not so much to absorb, because we were getting a little convoluted towards the end of that bracket, right? It was starting to get a little bit confusing with which offsets they're getting trimmed to this and that, and trying to watch it and all. That bracket, just making that bracket could have been one class, very short to the point, and then we could add that to our design next week, that kind of thing. We're going to try that out. Still give great quality content, but a little bit more absorbable and digestible. We're working towards that. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. If I missed any of your questions, can we have the vectors used in this class, Laney, please? Chris Leach. Yeah, I will actually... I will save this design and I will make it a downloadable link in the description of the video so you can download it. Give me about, I would say, an hour or so to clean up some things, and then I'll put it as a downloadable link in the description of this class video, and you can have them. Sure, no problem. Okay. Awesome. All right, everybody. Until next time, thanks for joining me. Hopefully that, like I said, hopefully there was something that you got out of it and found to be useful. Who knows? But I'm digging the way the top looks, that, where it has that organic style. It's not so square and cut off, right? Using shapes to create shapes. Hope you liked it as well. Until next time, we'll see you soon.